Hello, everyone. I am Lisa Wayman with Corner Escrow, and today I have two awesome guests with me today. I have Nicole Albrecht. She is the managing partner at Financial Accounting Services. And we have Rob Britton. He is the senior wealth advisor at Financial Accounting Services. Thank you guys so much for being on with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa,
Absolutely.
for having us.
You're welcome. So a couple of days ago or last week, I was at Professional Women's Roundtable, and Nicole was our guest speaker, and she was talking about the PPP loans. And I thought this would be a great subject to kind of highlight on these videos because I know there's a lot of confusion and questions about them, especially right now because a lot of them are being funded again. So I wanted to kind of get some information. You guys are experts in your field, so if you could introduce to us what that loan is, what it's used for, and how to go about applying or using it. You guys have some great info, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Just wanted to quickly go over the PPP loan. Everybody's sort of talking about it. A lot of folks are receiving the funding finally. So I'll just give a brief overview of what it is, how to apply for it, and then we can kind of go into what to do once you get the money. So again, the PPP loan, it's a 1% fixed rate loan payable within 2 years. All right, there's no personal guarantee or collateral required. Now, everybody is primarily interested in the forgiveness portion of that loan. And so there's a part of the PPP that can be forgiven. You have to use the amount that you qualify for within an 8-week period. All right. The majority of those funds need to be used on payroll expenses. Okay. So 75% of the loan, of the forgivable amount, the loan proceeds need to be used to support payroll costs. So that includes wages up to $100,000. So if somebody on your payroll makes $130,000, it's capped at $100,000. That includes benefits, any type of leave that your employees need to go on if they are diagnosed with COVID-19 or if they can't get childcare. That is considered a payroll expense. Now, 25% can be used on mortgage interest on your business. It can't be a personal residence. It can also be used for utilities and rent. So those are the kind of components of forgiveness. You have to use the funds for one of those designated purposes. All right, and people are asking how to account for that. So it's pretty easy if you work with a payroll company, right? If you have an ADP set up, they should be able to send you a payroll report and show, within that 8-week period of funding the loan, how much you spent on payroll. So that's very key. But you're also going to want to keep receipts, bank transfers, regarding any use of the funds, the proceeds. You're just going to want to keep records of that in case folks start asking questions now.
Yeah, so I think too what we're suggesting to our clients, so this loan is for business owners only, and so either you're a sole proprietor, a Schedule C, and that's a different set of calculations, or you're a business owner. Most of our on our tax firm, most of our business owners are set up as S corporations. And so what they look at to apply for the loan, you look at your total payroll costs. If you're an S corporation, usually you're on payroll yourself as an owner, and you can get up to 2.5 times your payroll costs. And that's the amount of money that you're able to get. And then once you get that money, like Rob said, we have 8 weeks to start spending it on payroll costs and rent, or if you own the property, commercial mortgage and utilities. And so what we're suggesting for clients when they get that money is to open up a separate bank account and to transfer that money in that separate bank account, and then we can start tracking. So for S corporations, there's going to be a little bit more tracking that's required for payroll costs and things like that.
Sure.
We have some great spreadsheets that we'd be more than happy to share, or we can help our clients calculate out those costs. For the community members that aren't our clients, we can charge a nominal fee to help them calculate out the costs, because the point is at the end of this 8 weeks, you have a certain amount of time to use this money, and we're not sure if this 8 weeks are going to get extended. We're hoping and praying, and there is some pushback for that.
Okay.
Because you have a lot of businesses that have this money, but they're not open yet. They're not open for
Right.
business.
Yeah.
Think restaurants,
Yeah.
salons. And so how do you hire people back when they're making more on unemployment? And so we're hoping that 8 weeks gets extended, but we have to operate right now as if the 8 weeks isn't extended. So we have to use those rules right now.
Wow.
That's why every couple of weeks when payroll runs, it's important to see where we're at. And then at the end of 8 weeks, you have a choice. You can keep that money. You can convert it to a loan. We don't love debt here. We're endorsed by Dave Ramsey. And so debt in a time of crisis is always compounding a huge headache down the road. But in this unique, unprecedented time, it might be very valuable to look at your other loans you have out there, and you can convert this over to a 1% loan, like Rob said, and see if it makes sense to pay off some of your higher interest rate right now.
Interesting. Okay. And then at the end of the 8 weeks, if you decide to not take it as a loan, you just pay it all back.
You can just give back to the bank. Yep.
Wow.
Right. Another important point here is that you do have to maintain your payroll in employee count numbers, right? So you have to use it on payroll costs and the other things I mentioned.
Sure.
But if your payroll drops and if you're not able to hire back your full amount of payroll for the period that you're applying for, then your forgiveness amount will be reduced proportionately. So you have to keep the same amount of full-time employees. It doesn't have to be for the same positions. Okay. So if as long as there's the number is the key. So you have the correct number and the correct amount of payroll, then you're hitting those check boxes.
Okay. Yeah. So and you tell Lisa, there's a ton of planning opportunities with this, right?
Right.
So I have some employers that have offered that position, and their team isn't ready to come back yet. They're making more on unemployment, and unfortunately, the owner has to document that they offered the job back and the employee refused, and then the employee won't be able to collect unemployment anymore. But we have some owners that are hiring family members to kind of take place of that. Some vendor contracts that they're converting over into W-2 employees right now for these 8 weeks.
Wow.
So it's really important to coordinate all this with a legal professional, an HR professional, and your accountants together as a team working for the owner's best interest here.
Okay. Sounds like there's a lot of creative ways to use it if you do have it, because that was my main thing is if you're out of business but you are not doing business and closed down and you get this loan, then what do you do with it because you don't have anyone working for you? So there's a lot of moving parts in this whole thing, isn't there?
There is, and that is a very common question and concern.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's very cheap financing. So if you're having, if the worst case scenario occurs and none of it's forgiven, then you're paying 1% on those funds. I don't believe there's any prepayment penalty, so you can pay it back. So it's cheap financing, and the reality is when things come back online, there may still be a period, even though we're technically open, where there's a ramp up, much like you're starting your business over, and having those funds available to do the things that you need to get business in the door might not be the best thing, especially when you're only paying 1%.
Yeah, exactly. That's an important feature there. All right, you guys, anything else any other advice that you want to give, any other information? Do you get any other frequently asked questions when you're talking about your clients, when you're talking to your clients about this loan that maybe you can think of?
I think the other question, we're starting to see a lot of Schedule C sole proprietors get this PPP funding, and in the past, we haven't seen that yet. A great website is one called Cabbage with a K. And you go online, it's a pretty easy application. And you upload up documents, super easy. I've done it for several clients already. You upload your copy of your driver's license, bank statements, January and February, your Schedule C that you filed for 2019. So it's a good time to quickly file your tax return and get those numbers up. And so you have that document. And then if you had any 1099, so you upload everything in there. And I've had clients within 3 days get funding for $8,000, $10,000, and $16,000 in their bank accounts already. And they'll use 25% of that money. So if it was $10,000, they'll use $2,500 to keep their rent going on their commercial space and their utilities, and utilities aren't clearly defined. And so I'm telling my clients that everything's about documentation. So for we're using cell phone, internet, Edison, water, things like that are all getting rolled into that.
Yeah.
That's the documentation we'll be submitting to the banks. And then everything else, if you're a Schedule C sole proprietor, all of that is your payroll. And so there is no more documentation that's required. So we just divide out the rest, which in this case with the 10,000, it'd be 7,500. You divide it by 8 weeks, and every Friday I'm having my Schedule C sole proprietors take that amount as their payroll benefit, and then they transfer it into their personal account, and then they're able to pay their own mortgage and their own groceries and bills with that money. So that's for the Schedule C. This is a great benefit. This money's going to run out really quick. So if you want to share that link to Cabbage, and
I will.
They should definitely be applying for that right now.
Awesome.
Absolutely. I've also heard that there's been some success with PayPal and doing the PPP website. Also, something to keep in mind is your banker or whomever you're working with on the loan should contact you at about 7 weeks to kind of start gathering the things for the forgiveness application. It doesn't happen automatically. You have to request the forgiveness. Okay, so the forgiveness, it's not really handled by the SBA. It's handled through the lender. So they're the ones that have to verify that the funds were spent as they were supposed to be. So just working with the lender is going to be key. They're really pushing to have it be easy, where you just have a few inputs and you're good. There's still a lot of gray area around that, so you want to keep records, but really the government and the lenders, they want these things forgiven. So work with them and make sure you don't go past that 8 week period.
Yeah, it's not automatic. Another important factor.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, I will definitely include the links that you guys talked about in the comments below, as well as Nicole and Rob's contact information. So if you need any information, they have some great forums. If you need any counseling, they are a great resource for you and your small business. So thank you guys so much for coming on with me today. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, you guys.